Hello and welcome back to my place. Today we're in the kitchen, not the tiki bar. Sorry about that. I know how much you guys love the tiki bar. We're gonna do just a quick short episode today because everyone was very interested in my oat milk recipe. It's very easy, it's super fast, so I'm gonna knock that out real quick. Since it's such a quick, short, easy recipe, I'm gonna just flesh out this episode a little bit by showing you one of the things that I use my oat milk for most of the time. My favorite thing to use this in is my morning smoothie. So once we're done with this quick and easy oat milk recipe, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I make my morning smoothies too. So one of the biggest complaints that people usually have about homemade oat milk as opposed to the store-bought brands that have emulsifiers and preservatives in it is that the ones that you make at home can get a little bit slimy. And that's due to the oats actually basically being cooked. Even if you use cold water, if you leave oats in milk or water overnight, you get like soft cooked overnight oats. Well, the same thing can happen to oat milk. And there's a couple of tips and tricks that I've learned over the past couple of weeks of trying to perfect this recipe that you can do in order to make your oat milk less slimy and not cooked. So like I said, my oat milk recipe is super simple. You can add whatever else you want to it, but this is a really good base. The ingredients I use are agave, sea salt, oats, and water. And that's it. And you can even skip the agave too if you don't want it to be on the sweeter side. I put just a tiny bit in, and that helps for if you're using it in like sweets and baking or in your cereal or something like that. But you can totally skip the agave if you want to use it in more savory stuff. Now first off, you'll notice that I have a very old, cheap Hamilton Beach blender. This is what I usually use when I make my oat milk. You can also use a food processor if you prefer, or a Ninja would probably be a lot better at this. But even if you just have a cheap, crappy blender at home with you, it actually works pretty well for this kind of recipe. So to start off with, I'm going to do a half a cup of oats. Now this recipe that I'm doing right now makes about 2 full cups or 16 ounces of oat milk. You can always double it, quadruple it, however much you need. A good rule of thumb is just a 1/4 cup for every cup of cold water. And to my dry oats, I'm going to go ahead and pour in 2 full cups of cold water. And then I do just a quick pinch of sea salt. Honestly, probably not even like a teaspoon. And then once again, I eyeball just because I'm me and I eyeball everything. But I usually say that I put in about a tablespoon of agave. Now the first tip that I have for making this not slimy is you just don't want to blend it for very long. So don't just sit there and blend it for like a minute straight. I usually count to approximately 20 seconds, like 20 Mississippis when I blend it. So it should be nice and frothy and foamy. So the next tip that I have is a lot of recipes that you see for oat milk will recommend you use like a cheesecloth or something really fine mesh that you can squeeze the oats through. I've actually found that squeezing the oats through actually makes it more slimy rather than less. So the best thing that you can use is just like a fine mesh sieve like this to strain out the oat particles. And you really don't want to push or squeeze on the oats at all, just kind of gently let them drain. I like to use this little Tupperware just because it's the perfect size and has nice sharp corners, so I can pour it directly into my bottle when I'm done. So you'll already see all the little oat particles that are still stuck in there. And the most you want to do is maybe grab a spoon and just sort of scrape the bottom and mix it around a little bit. Don't push on it or squeeze on it or anything. This is about what it should look like when you're done straining it. And there we have it. It's just a super quick, easy recipe. You can stick this in the fridge and keep it in there for like a week. It's really good. You can drink it straight. I like to use it for cooking. It's really good in bakery items, in pasta, mac and cheese, and especially good in my morning smoothies, which is what I'm going to show you next. So this is the morning smoothie that I do every day when I wake up. It's really good. It tastes good. It's got vegetables and fruit in it. It's got a lot of protein. It's very filling, and it's about 320 calories, so it's a really good breakfast. Obviously, feel free to sub out any ingredients, add whatever you want, but this is my go-to. The soy protein powder that I use is a little bit sweet, even though it says unsweetened, it adds a little bit of sweetness to it. So if I use my protein powder, I usually skip the agave. But if you like it a little bit sweet, like my boyfriend does, you can definitely add the agave in there. Otherwise, the main ingredients are frozen blueberries. Then we have fresh kale, which is my favorite vegetable to add to smoothies. Spinach is also a very good alternative. I throw in a banana, my protein powder, which I've already talked about, and then of course, the star of the show, homemade oat milk. Okay, so I usually start with my kale. I put in probably about a half a cup, maybe. And I'll usually go ahead and throw in my banana. If you have a cheap blender like mine, you want to do the easiest to blend stuff on the bottom so that I can get through it, and then you have all that liquid on the bottom. That helps your blender blend the really hard stuff. That's a trick I learned as a barista, working for really shady coffee stands that have cheap blenders. I put in 1 scoop of my protein powder. I do 3/4 cups of blueberries. Don't ask me why, that just kind of ended up being the amount of blueberries that worked well for me. Here's where I would also add in a little bit of agave if I like it on the sweeter side. And then of course, the oat milk. And I use a cup of oat milk for this particular smoothie recipe. And this, unlike the oat milk, you can just blend into oblivion until it's as smooth as you like it. I like it smooth. Okie dokie. I always put my smoothie in my Starbucks cup just because it's the perfect size and it has a straw. This is not sponsored. It's a little bit on the warm side because I just made the oat milk. Usually it's been sitting in my fridge overnight. But it's really good. It tastes like a blueberries and cream frappuccino almost. The protein powder actually gives it a little bit extra creaminess, which is good because once again my oat milk isn't quite as fatty as the store-bought brand. But even if you're not looking to make yourself oat milk, if you're looking for like a quick, easy breakfast to do in the mornings, especially during this quarantine, you want to keep yourself from overeating or something, you just want a good energy boost and protein boost in the morning, I highly recommend this. I do recommend this vegan protein powder too. It's a little on the pricey side, but it gives you a good kick of protein for not that many added calories. So I might keep shopping around. If you guys have a really good vegan protein source that you like, or especially that you like to add to your smoothies, please leave it in the comments. I would love to hear about it. Let me know if you make this oat milk recipe or my smoothie recipe, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.